Hello there, this is Clone Brother Reviews, and in today's video I've decided to do a showcase of all my Kenobi custom minifigures. So without any further ado, let's get into this. Now the first custom that I released was this younger Uncle Owen minifigure based off his appearances in the trailers. However, because of the lighting I thought his outfit was brown, however in the show it actually turned out to be grey. I still think it does an okay job of capturing the character, and if you want to know how to make him, the legs come from one of the Mandalorians from the Mandalorian Battle Pack, the torso comes from a Resistance officer, and the head comes from a Gar Saxon minifigure. Finally, the hair is just some brown dark hair that I got from a LEGO City set. The next custom that I made was Obi Wan Kenobi himself, and I think this turned out okay, though I've been told it looks a bit like Kyle Katarn on Reddit. If you want to know how to make this minifigure, you're going to need the legs from the Mandalorian Armourer, the torso from a Tusken Raider, the head from Mustafar Obi Wan Kenobi, and the hair from a LEGO Brickman CMF minifigure. The cape piece that he has comes from a knockoff LEGO minifigure. I don't remember what it's called, but I just coloured it in. In that same video I made this Obi Wan Kenobi, and this was him in his blue butcher outfit that is seen in the first 2 episodes. Now this custom uses the legs from the Mandalorian Armourer, the body from a Newt Scamander, the head from a Mustafar Obi Wan Kenobi, once again the hair from the LEGO Brickman CMF minifigure. The next custom I made was a Taladurith, and when I saw the trailers I was just expecting her to be an evil Imperial officer, and so in that tutorial video I treated her as such. Now the legs come from a Batman minifigure, torso comes from a standard Imperial officer, the hands come from a Starfire, the head comes from a Hoth Scout Trooper, and finally the hat just comes from an Imperial officer. The next custom that I produced for Obi Wan Kenobi was the new Purge Trooper outfit, and I think this one turned out quite well. The parts come from a LEGO Crosshair, a LEGO Mr. Incredible, a LEGO Moff Gideon, and the Dark Troopers, as well as some homemade camo pieces. I remember basing this off the trailers and not the actual episode, because I was trying to do this before to get it out there quickly so I could be the first one to have a tutorial on this particular Purge Trooper. The next minifigure that I made was the 4th sister, and I remember being very happy with this. The legs come from Echo, the torso comes from Moff Gideon, the head and helmet came from a Speed Champions set, and I think I made a funny build for the Leku. On screen now is that build, and I think this was what I was most proud of, but yeah, it was quite difficult to make, however I think it definitely turned out okay. The next minifigure that I decided to make was Haja from episode 2 and 5, and the legs come from a Abby Yates minifigure, the hips and the torso come from a Mace Windu, the head, hair and the hands come from I think it's Big Bang Theory character, and finally the cape came from a Mandalorian. Here's a picture of him holding one of his magnets because I just thought it looked quite funny. The next custom which I decided to produce was Roken, and I like the way this minifigure turned out. The legs come from the Mandalorian Armourer, the torso comes from a Hoth Rebel, the arms come from a Newt Scamander, the face also comes from a different Hoth Rebel, and finally the hair comes from a Greef Karga. Here's a picture of the other side on his face, and I decided to stand him next to my Taladurith costume. Up next was a request by Maya W Photos on Instagram, and this was Blue Hat Guy. He is one of the background characters in the episode 5 and 6 scenes, and I think this definitely turned out okay, and a lot of people seem to like him. I think the legs came from a Mustafar Anakin, the torso came from a Owen from Jurassic World, the head came from a, what was his name, Snap Wexley, and finally the hat came from a Ninjago pirate minifigure. The last Kenobi custom that I made was this young Leia minifigure, and the legs came from a Minecraft villager, the torso came from an Endor commando, the head came from a Dick Grayson Batman minifigure, and the hair came from Abby Yates again. As a bonus for sticking around so long, here is how to make Obi Wan Kenobi from the Season 1 finale of Obi Wan Kenobi. Firstly, you're going to want to take the legs from this Abby Yates minifigure. This is the one I've been talking about over this video. You're then going to want to take the torso and arms from any LEGO Mace Windu minifigure. I think the one with back printing works quite well, but I'll be using a different one. The head comes from this Mustafa Obi Wan Kenobi. And finally, the hair comes from this minifigure. If you've done it correctly, your minifigure should now look like this. Feel free to pause here if you need a reference photo for when you're building yours. Overall, I think this minifigure turned out quite well, and I think it really rounds out today's roster of minifigures. But there we go, that's all my Kenobi customs that I have made over the past few weeks. If you have any requests for any more minifigures that you'd like to see me make, feel free to leave a comment down below or reach out to me over on my Instagram. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, I'd highly recommend you do so, because then when my next custom comes out, you'll be notified. If you would like to watch some more Purist custom LEGO minifigures, or want to watch those tutorials individually, feel free to click on the links which should be on the end screen now.